You see, you think about things like Pompeii, and I watch shows where buildings are made of or decorated of human skulls, and there's a number of people there. And think about, the number is just
Yeah,
astronomical.
yeah, it really is, it's incomprehensible. That's what Paul said when he saw it. So I went up there and I looked at heaven and I can't explain. But and he didn't, right? John does, and we don't understand him either. So we get this fantastic view of this heaven and new earth. This now is the end, right? We started beginning. Okay, thank you. We started at the beginning of the New Testament time, and now this is the end. This is when the end is going to come, right? We know that because this is the way Jesus described it, right? He said this is what's going to happen right before the end. How long? We're going to discuss a little bit of this later on here because there's this business of 3.5 days, 3.5 years. And that seems to be a really bad time before the end. I think we talked about this last week. Some say that's now. It probably depends on where you are. I think if you're maybe a soldier in Ukraine, you might think this has got to be it. Or some of those Christians who are being persecuted and killed for their faith, maybe they think this is the 3.5 days of a terrible time. Jesus said it would, remember how he said that in Matthew 24? He said it would even affect the elect if that were possible. So he's just saying that's how bad it is. It could even upset his people if that were possible. Okay. Gotta finish this deal here. Then the kings of the earth, verse 15. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and every slave and every free man hid in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. Well, who are all of these? Who's there? Everybody, right? We got everybody. They call to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath is come, and who can stand? So you got everybody. It's finally happening. The world's ending, and they want to die. There are mountains fall on us, right? Cover us up. We don't want the judge to see us. We would just like to go out of existence now. Right? And so this is where they are, okay? And I think it's kind of interesting where he talks about this phrase, the wrath of the Lamb. You find that an interesting concept. I don't think, I've never seen a lamb with wrath. You know, but that's who Jesus is, right? And he will be the final judge. Okay. Okay, I just right on there, 15 to 17. This is describing the end of the world. Guess how many? Well, odd enough, the groups of people there are 7 groups of people. Those numbers are strange. They keep appearing throughout. Okay? God dealing with humans. The mills of God's wrath grind very slowly, but oh so fine. The day will come when the martyrs will be avenged by the Almighty God. They will try to escape, but they will not. Notice how death will seem like a pleasant alternative. Is the fear of God's judgment a good thing?
If you want to die as an alternative.
Well, it's not good for you. Yeah, that's what But, in general, I mean, fear of God's judgment, a bad thing or not a good thing, I guess, if you.
Depends on if you're a believer or not. If you're not, then it's almost like you don't expect it because you don't believe anyway. You don't believe that there's a judgment.
Yeah, and, I think it would be scary if people, what did Shakespeare say, right? To die, to sleep, perchance to dream, aye, there's the rub. Right? What he's talking about, dying is one thing, but if there's life after death, that's a problem, right? If there's a God who's going to judge me, that's a problem. And I think it was Nietzsche who said, you can't imagine the relief that you feel once you convince yourself there is no God. And so, I guess I think the fear of God is a good thing in that it might lead somebody to say, I better straighten up. I better find out if there's a God, I better see if I can find it. There is that fear in the conscience. That's what God puts a conscience in each of us. Even unbelievers have it. It's a reminder that He's there. Right? And you can try to, there's very few true atheists because it's pretty hard to get that out of your system because it's built in. So you got to work hard to convince yourself there's no God. Any questions about that?
So these last verses are just referring to the unbeliever?
Yeah, well, it asks, who will stand? Next chapter is the answer. Next chapter is, let's see who will stand. So let's look at it. Ready? All right. This is all part of the sixth seal, by the way. Chapter 7. After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or on any tree. Then I saw another angel coming out of the east, having the seal of the living God. He called out in a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea. Do not harm the land and the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. All right, so we've got those 4 angels, and they're holding back. What are they holding back? Yeah, the wind. And the other angel says, don't let it loose, right? Don't let go. Don't harm anything on the earth until I've sealed everybody that needs to be sealed, okay? This passage in the notes here, this passage is a symbolic way of describing how the earth exists for the sake of the elect, and that it will not be destroyed until all have been sealed. Let's see. It should be noted that before the end, the whole world escapes punishment for the sake of the believers. People wonder why God doesn't punish the wicked world. You look at Sodom and Gomorrah as an example there, right? He does sometimes, right? But he was willing to spare Sodom and Gomorrah for the sake of 10 righteous people. Right? And so this world, why doesn't God judge us? One of the reasons is for the sake of us. Right? And that's what that's saying. And it also kind of gives you that passage that God upholds all things by the power of His word. So that to me means that God, this world keeps going because God says today is going to be okay. and I'm not going to let it be destroyed. When God removes his protection, that's when the end will come. God removes his protection. And when God says, okay, now let it loose. And the 4 angels will let it loose. Okay, let's see. Puts one seal on someone is a way of declaring ownership. God is saying, you belong to me. So he said, you gotta wait until I get them all, until everybody's sealed that I'm going to seal. And so that's another thing, sign at the end, is apparently not everybody's been sealed yet. Somebody still has to come to faith. Like your neighbor. Maybe you share your faith with them, you'll cause the world to end. That'll be the one, right? And you bring in the one that God's been waiting for, right? Any questions about that? Let's see, it's Hebrews. Ezekiel 9, 1 to 10. You notice that there's a lot of Ezekiel passages here that we get out of Revelation because a lot of the pictures and the language is the same. Ezekiel, Isaiah. Anybody have it? Ezekiel 9? Okay, Carol.
Okay. Then the Lord thundered, bring on the men appointed to punish the city. Tell them to bring their weapons with them. 6 men soon appeared from the upper gate that faces north, each carrying a deadly weapon in his hand. With them was a man dressed in linen, who carried a writer's case at his side. They all went to the temple courtyard and stood beside the bronze altar. Then the glory of the God of Israel rose up from between the cherubim, where it had rested, and moved to the entrance of the temple. And the Lord called to the man dressed in linen, who was carrying the writer's case. He said to him, walk through the streets of Jerusalem and place a mark on the foreheads of all who weep and sigh because of the detestable sins being committed in their city. Then I heard the Lord say to the other men, follow him through the city and kill everyone whose forehead is not marked. Show no mercy, have no pity. Kill them all, old and young, girls and women and little children. But do not touch anyone with the mark. Begin right here at the temple. So they began killing the 70 leaders.
Yeah, see there's a similar picture, right? I'm pretty sure that's a vision as well. Basically the same vision, right? Just a little different way. Okay, so now first thing we got to do to get to the next part. This is the great 144,000 section of the Bible where the Jehovah's Witnesses said, well, here you got it. There's going to be 144,000 who is going to be saved, and that's it. And the only problem they had is they got more than 144,000. They didn't know what to do about that. So they started making 2 classes of people. They had the 144,000, that group, and then you had all the secondary people who they say refers to those before the throne. Okay, not the real, really good ones, right? And so this is where they get it from, right? So now let's first of all it says here. Okay. Verse 4. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from the tribes of Israel. Okay, so what are the tribes of Israel? Make a list of them. Genesis, I think they're probably all in Genesis 35. That's what that passage is. But can you name them?
I can read them.
All right.
Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Naphtali,
Are you reading it out of Revelation?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, these are not the 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh, okay.
This is what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you that John certainly knew who the 12 tribes of Israel were. But these are not they, okay?
Like the tribe of Dan isn't mentioned.
Dan's not in there, right? Or the Dan, what else is wrong with that list?
They didn't count Levi. Or they.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
Levi should not be counted because he was not an official 12 tribes. He was not officially one of the 12 tribes.
Ephraim and Manasseh, aren't there? Well, Manasseh is there.
Manasseh is there, but who else is there?
Joseph.
Joseph. There is no tribe of Joseph, especially after what they divided. Remember, they divided Joseph into Ephraim and Manasseh. So that's why you get 12. The Levites aren't in. And so you have that split tribe of Joseph. Okay? So my point here is that John certainly knew who the 12 tribes of Israel are, but they're not the 12 tribes of Israel. This is all a picture of something. Okay? And they're all listed there. Okay? And there's 12 from each of those tribes. Okay? Why 12? Why 12,000? We talked about the numbers earlier. 12, I think that's an accident that there were 12 tribes of Israel and 12 apostles. That would just happen.
It's 3 times 4. It's supposed to be God and mankind, and then you have the 1,000, 10 times 10, and that's the function.
Yeah, this is the church, right? There's 12,
10 times.
12 times 12 times 10 times 10 times 10 is 144,000. The number 10, number of completeness, 12, number of the church, 12, 24, sometimes number of the church. Okay? So, what is he saying? Who's going to be sealed here? What is he saying?
All the believers.
The whole church, right? The whole church, every one of them is going to be sealed, okay? And that's the church, okay? And that's what the 144,000 is all about. See what this next. Okay, verse 9. After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and in front of the Lamb, and they were wearing white robes and holding palm branches in their hand. So how many are there? How many of these believers are there?
Lots.
Yeah, there's so many you can't number. So it's right there, it's telling you. I'm just making a point. This is the church. Right? The whole church is going to be saved. Right? And they have, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, 4 things. Standing before the throne in front of the Lamb, wearing white robes, Jesus' righteousness, holding palm branches, praising God. That's what that's all about. Okay, so we will start there next week. Let's pray. Lord, we know you are coming soon because you promised us that. We ask you to help us be ready for that day. Help us to be doing the things you told us to do before you left. Be with our worship today. Help us raise up our voices in praise to you. Amen.
Yeah, I gotta vote.
No!
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. No. Where's the green horse?
He said a white horse.
Yeah, I know. Nice to meet you as well, Phil.
Carol.
Nice to meet you, Carol.
You ready?
The best thing I can tell you to do.
Let me see if they're gonna print that. Yeah.
I'll take a look at it.
He did have those,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we got the same copy.
Yeah, we're gonna sing,